Yes, good morning. Today we are here to discuss on Yuval Noah Harari's *Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind*, and you have a chapter from there, "A Day in the Life of Adam and Eve." So, actually, we have gone through the introductory part about the author, about all of the works he have written, and a brief idea about *Sapiens* itself we have acquired within this time. And now we go on with a day in the life of Adam and Eve. There is a chapter in the big book, so we are discussing on that. In this chapter, the author talks about the hunter-gatherer stage of human civilization before the agricultural revolution. This was a very long period compared to other subsequent periods. So the archaeological evidence is very little. And so the author is very careful to constantly say any theories have to be taken with a grain of salt. Furthermore, the presence of the archaeological evidence itself can be easily biased. Because during that period, if humans didn't have a lot of stuff, there would be very little physical evidence remaining. So we cannot assume that the lack of evidence points to say a lack of culture. This is very interesting. The author brings up the latest research tools in this area means there is not much certainty that we can ascribe to this period of human civilization. So, in the initial paragraph, it's told about the hunter-gatherer stage. This is tracing the evolution actually. How the modern man has evolved and what is the modern man actually doing. So it starts again with the hunter-gatherer stage of humans. We are tracing it from the Darwin's theory of evolution. And so the hunter-gatherer stage is some 12,000 years back. So you have hunting of animals and you have your food that way, you have your sustenance that way. In this chapter, the author talks about the hunter-gatherer stage of human civilization before the agricultural revolution. So after that, you had the agricultural revolution, but this period is a long one actually. This hunter-gatherer stage before the agricultural revolution was a gigantic period, you could say, but a longer period compared to all other periods. This was a very long period compared to the subsequent periods. So the archaeological evidence is very little. So this period was a very long period compared to the subsequent periods. And so the archaeological evidence is very little. So the archaeological evidence, as the period is long, the evidence also will just come down like that. So it's like opposites happening. When a period goes long, you have the evidence which is very less, and history you cannot always abide to. And this was a very long period compared to other subsequent periods. So the archaeological evidence is very little. And so the author is very careful to constantly say any theories have to be taken with a grain of salt. So grain of salt actually is to understand that something is likely to be untrue or incorrect, which means the period is long and you cannot rely on any theories or historians that archaeological evidence that has remained, because you cannot truly trust that it is completely correct. And so the author is very careful to constantly say any theories have to be taken with a grain of salt. So you cannot trust upon any theories or archaeological evidence that's left with you. And for example, I've given a sentence here. I have seen the article which I take with a grain of salt. So I have seen this article, but it doesn't carry any evidence and I take it very lightly, it means. So the author is very careful to constantly say any theory have to be taken with a grain of salt. Furthermore, the presence of archaeological evidence itself can be easily biased, and again there is even chance for the archaeological evidence to be a bit biased. But because during that period, if humans didn't have a lot of stuff, there would be very little physical evidence remaining. So it's clear, because if humans didn't have a lot of stuff, because the requirements were very less. You see, they just had, for the sustenance, they just needed food. So nothing could remain back of the evidence actually. So because this period, if humans didn't have a lot of stuff, so definitely we know they didn't have a lot of stuff during that period, and there would be very little physical evidence remaining. So we have the very physical evidence remaining, and we cannot truly trust upon the archaeological evidence, and it can be even biased too. So we cannot assume that the lack of evidence points to say a lack of culture. But still, if we say there is a lack of evidence, that doesn't point to the lack of culture. There might be a point of culture growing up there. That is very interesting. The author brings up that the latest research tools in this area means there is not much certainty we can ascribe to this period of human civilization. So the author is trying to bring up the latest tools in this area means there is no much certainty we can ascribe to this period of human civilization. So we cannot trust upon the earlier rules that is put forward by the archaeology, by the historians. So the our author is trying to put up his own research tools to bring the ideas and about the history of, bring out a clear clarity about the history of this period of human civilization. And now again the next paragraph says about a popular science. Popular science is science that is needed for the people. We bring up our science for our daily ongoing process, for our liberties, for our convenience. We bring up certain kinds of rules which might not be like scientifically proven actually. So that is popular science, because popular science is an interpretation of science intended for a general audience. Now this is an interpretation of science for a general audience. For example, I say if you wanted to have a Coke, and if you have a diabetic patient, you have a sugar-free Coke that is available. So it is constructed for our convenience actually. And now ice creams, if you take ice creams, it is rich in calories. Now you will have, tomorrow you will invent an ice cream saying it is of less calories. So we are having science for our convenience, for our adaptation to the needs and our likes. So we live in an era of popular science actually. So because this period was very long compared to subsequent agricultural and modern periods, the author says that evolutionary psychology teaches us that many of our present day social and psychological characteristics were shaped during this period. So if you take the stages of evolution, it teaches us that many of our present day social and psychological characteristics were shaped during, we have taken ideas from our forefathers actually. The period was very long compared to subsequent agricultural and modern periods. The author says that evolutionary psychology teaches us that many of our present day social and psychological characteristics were shaped during this period. This is according to scientists actually. And this reminds me, now the author is trying to put up his argument here. This reminds me of and reassures me of the often popular modern pop science explanations of humans has at least some basis in good science. Now the popular science is giving me a good support in this era, that explanations of humans has at least some basis in good science. Now we have developed some good science for our convenience, for our purpose. A popular one, of course, is that we love to indulge in high-calorie foods, because as humans in this period, we wouldn't know when our next meal would come. So we doesn't know what we're going to have next. We don't have any idea. We cannot go and hunt, and we cannot do any such things. We cannot do agriculture, or we cannot. So we are relying and we are finding our means. So in that case, what we're doing is, popular one, of course, is that we love to indulge in high-calorie food. So we are just taking high-calorie foods for that reason, because as humans in this period, we wouldn't know when our next meal. We are so busy, we'll have to sit back for work without food for long hours. So that reason, we will have in one intake, we will have high calorie foods, and we have a good reason for that. So evolutionary pressures now favor us gorging on ice cream or whatever your sinful pleasures. To me, this is extremely fascinating and an ongoing point of contemplation. So for me, this is actually fascinating and ongoing point of contemplation. I just like to meditate on this point. Basically, human society has much evolved. So evolutionary pressures have now favor us gorging on ice creams or whatever your sinful pleasures. Now, so I can go for, if I want to have ice creams, I can go for it. If I have to have some sinful pleasures, I can even go for that, and I have my own justifications and scientific evidence for that, even justifications and popular science that would be supporting me for that cause. To me, this is extremely fascinating and an ongoing point of contemplation. I'll just deeply think about, meditate on this. Basically, human society has evolved much more quickly than our DNA actually. So I can say, so more than our DNA, actually, human society has evolved for its needs. We don't need these traits to survive anymore as human beings. So actually, we don't need these traits to survive as anymore as modern humans. So this is ideas that is coming in the 2 paragraphs. You can just go through this, meditate on this, read it thoroughly, and after on refer to some other notes which will take you to a day in the life of Adam and Eve, and write your own interpretations and findings upon this. Okay, then thanks for the day.